Welcome, everybody. Thank you. Thanks for joining us. We're here. It's our May Details University Live. I'm your host, Corrine Heck, and I'm so thrilled to introduce you guys to Liza Roeser, the CEO of 50 Flowers, and my dear friend. Oh, look at AI is taking over already, Lisa.
Yeah, there you go.
Welcome to our monthly Details University Live. We'd love to have these and host these every month just to kind of introduce people to different people around the industry. And you and I have been friends, I think, going on a decade, just about. And I met Lisa, lo and behold, at my very first SAF conference in Maui. It was in Maui, Hawaii. I knew not a soul. And I ran and bumped into this woman at the partner showcase. And I said, "Who are you?" And she said, "Oh, I own 50 Flowers." I said, "Oh my gosh, I've heard of 50 Flowers. Tell me more." And we proceeded to go down to the beach, and we must have sat there for probably 6 hours just getting to know each other. So
Yeah,
welcome to your
yeah.
first masterclass with us, Lisa.
Well, thank you for, and entertaining actually thank you for just creating the space for the industry, you know,
Same to you. I
creating.
feel like wherever I always know Lisa's a pro and she's gonna do it her best. And if she does it her best, she's kind of showing everybody else what to do. And we all just kind of rising together. So I feel like it's
Yeah,
been really
yeah.
remarkable to see another female entrepreneur in the floral industry because there weren't too many of us so long ago, I feel like. Uh 10,
25 years ago, there weren't any. No,
yeah.
I take it back. There were two that I can remember. And we had a lot of moments to bond. And it kind of helps pave the way of just creating space in this industry for women.
So tell us, I really want to go dive back a little bit. We have about 40 minutes.
Okay.
But tell us like how you got started in the industry and like you've been in the industry for gosh, over 25 years, I would say. Like
Close
I
to
don't age
30.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Showing what generation, that's for sure right now.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. I was a Peace Corps volunteer in Ecuador and I loved the culture and the country. And I
Or
knew what?
the Peace Corps. You were
The
a part
Peace
of the
Corps.
Peace Corps.
Yeah. I worked in small business and I wrote a book. I wrote a guide on how to export your products.
Okay.
And I taught it in every province at the universities there. And it was, wow, I'm getting some prompts on here. Talk about AI again. Um, I didn't want to leave the country. I knew there was more to do. And I found a job in flowers and kind of just fell into flowers. And once I got started, I just couldn't stop and just continued on. And what inspired 50 Flowers is looking at all of the beautiful flowers that were out there and realizing that the current chain of distribution was antiquated and it needed some help. And I found the internet, and that's history. It just kind of built itself with the inertia and the hashtag never know behind me just to get it done.
So 50 Flowers is I think I remember you saying that because you could package two bunches of roses in a box and that's where you started sending out 50
Yeah.
flowers.
50 flowers. 50 flowers comes from basically, we all know roses come in 25. And if you put one in a box, then you just have 25 and it's lopsided. If you put two, then it's a nice balanced box that we can ship without worrying about the flowers getting damaged.
Yeah.
And we did not, we chose, I say we, but back in the heyday, it was me. And we decided not to call it 50 Roses, even though that was the beginning of
Yeah.
the beginning name. We decided to go forward and make it 50 Flowers so we could dream bigger because it was
Yeah.
going to be bigger than just roses that we'd be delivering.
Well, and I feel like you've definitely had an evolution even since you started to now. Like what has been the biggest change into what you started doing versus what you got your hands into now?
If I really focus in and I think what is the difference is we really understand that at 50 Flowers, we just don't sell bulk flowers. What we do is we help you create beautiful memories. with flowers. And, you know, understanding that we were the trailblazers behind wedding and event flowers and focusing relentlessly on that customer experience and also leading with innovation, clarity, and just a service. That's how we stay ahead, and that's really what has helped the company evolve.
Yeah, I would say that, I always feel like when I visit the 50 Flowers website, you have it feels like a personal touch or it's like a personal
Oh,
relationship. So I
thank
feel
you.
like
Yeah.
kind of what is in, one of the trademarks, I guess, of working with 50 Flowers is feeling like you get that personal touch.
Well,
I don't.
and we strive really hard for that. You're not a number. You know, every order is an order. And, you know, behind the scenes as CEO, I know when our systems fail. And I lean in and I make sure that the team, you know, we understand the granular reasons why, because things are going to go wrong in business. I mean, things are going to go right and wrong. Things can get lost. However, it's how you show up and you own it.
Yeah. Well, I feel like as the business owner, you often are running towards like the dumpster fire, right? You can't run away from the problems. You got to figure it out and see where the problems lie. And that's what makes effective leaders, in my opinion. But how has your leadership style changed, do you think, over the years?
Well, you know, the words that come are grace and grit. Ha, I love that. You know, I've shifted from running towards the dumpster fire to taking a step back and realizing that I really have an executive team that they're put in place. And, you know, I really have I'm rising into that visionary role and, you know, surrounding myself by some of the smartest people and letting them handle the dumpster fires, which is it's a big shift.
It
However,
is.
it's happening.
Yeah. No. But I feel like that's such a testament to like having a good team around you and people that you trust and kind of know what your vision is behind the brand too. And
Yes.
like when they can exude that even when you're not in the room. I think that's what every business owner wants, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, that's what we were just talking about today. We're going to hire on a really big seat on the leadership team. And they're like, "Do you want to interview them?" And I'm like, "I don't know. Do I need to?"
Yeah.
And that's where it leans in and you say, yes, obviously I want to, but do I need to? And asking that question and leaning in. And there's only so many minutes in a day, so many hours, so many years in our lives. You know, where do you want to spend your time and where is it more valuable? And discerning between that is definitely part of where, as a human being, I'm involving,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, I feel like so many of our listeners can relate to that because no matter the size of your business, whether you're
Mhm.
doing, $50 million or $50,000, there still you still have the same amount of hours in the day, right? You have to spend
Exactly.
your
Yeah.
time
Yeah.
and do what's right. So I feel like as you grow and you start growing a business, you need to bring in people that you trust and can lean on and rely on, so that
Absolutely.
you can kind of let go of all the day to day because there's no way at scale you
Yeah,
can
and
every
one
time.
word, yeah, one word to fix, I mean, just that I would shift on that is I'm really focusing on my words too.
Mm,
And there was, you can kind of lean on. No, you absolutely need to be able to lean on them.
that
In the moment that you feel as though you can't, is the moment that it's time to make a change.
yeah. Do you think that your first changes happened, like, I would say that as an entrepreneur, when I see you, I feel like you're a big risk taker, right?
Oh,
I feel like any entrepreneur really is because when you go from working for someone else and then you're totally working on your own, like, those are huge risks. But how does that play into your business strategy?
you know, I really take a step back in this question I love because I am a risk taker. And I think that that's been part of my success is that I do take bold risks.
Mm,
And there are many times I'll jump out of that plane and not even realize I don't even have a parachute on. And now I got to figure it out.
yeah.
And operating in that chaos is fun until
Mhm.
it's not.
Yeah.
And one thing that I would say that risk has done is it's thrust us, but it's also can cause a lot of confusion, especially when the team is bigger and we have big goals like we do now. So now what I do or my risks are very database backed. I have a gut feeling and I still will pursue the gut feeling until the data tells me no.
Yeah. Is that when you decide to go for it? Like based on the data? Is it with your head or your heart? Are you making those decisions?
It really it's a blend and I
Or
do have to.
intuition.
What's that?
Or intuition, women's intuition, sometimes you just know.
Intuition, we got it. Let me tell you, that is for sure.
Yeah. Well, that leads me into my next segment. So let's talk about women in flowers because this is
Yeah.
something that I feel like you spearheaded a few years ago, and we're like, we need more women empowerment in the industry. And it's just been a huge topic of conversation. But I feel like this industry thrives on women at the helm. So it's very interesting that this group is just now getting started, right?
Yes. Well, it is a passion project for Jennifer Bernard and myself. And it does come from a deep need that I see my 21-year-old self that for connection and mentorship and courage amongst the women in the industry. And it's really what I'm creating along with everyone, because it is, Women in Flowers. We don't even know if it's going to be a nonprofit organization, if it's just going to be a community. We don't even know where we're going with this, which is I think some of the fun part of it. Once again, risk taker. What I do know is that it's what I wish I had in my early days of my entrepreneurship and just my life in general, because you don't need to be an entrepreneur to be part of Women of Flowers. And you don't even need to be a woman, to be honest. We're just calling it Women in Flowers because we're women in flowers.
Well, if guys can come along and read the books and things if they would like, but it's a pretty chummy group. I do think it's really nice to get together. I've attended several of the book clubs, and I've definitely learned a lot. It takes a lot of internal soul searching sometimes to ask yourself the tough questions, but it's so nice to be able to um, do the breakouts and resonate or just see how where other people are in their life, and it really just kind of makes you think. It's like, okay, we're not in this alone. Because
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And, Corrine, I have to say, not only have you attended, you led one, which
Oh,
is, it's a brave thing. It's brave. It's a brave act.
yeah. Well, it's yeah, I have a hard time picking up a book and sitting for a long set of time. So for me, it's like just to say that I'll do it was really amazing. But it's a great group. I encourage anybody if they want to know more about that or join. We just started. I guess you have a new community group or so forth that
Yes,
we've started, which has a lot more options because it was just
yes,
a WhatsApp group.
yes. And we outgrew WhatsApp.
Yeah.
And, being completely, we haven't outgrown it. It just is, it will get Riley. It'll get a little out of control
Yep.
because you have a whole bunch of women in a chat, and we all love to talk and tell a lot. And this way, it's a more organized way for us to be able to support even more. Once we've shared, I have to say, it's just beautiful. It's beautiful to say we've outgrown that mission. In fact, within 1 week, within the community, we had 40 people join.
Wow. Well, and how many so this group is we've met up. We talked about it I think in Vegas this past year at the Wedding MBA. We were both
Yeah.
speakers. Which is a fantastic thing. I've seen you show up there time and time again. You do a really really wonderful job about showing up for the industry, which I appreciate. And most notably, I feel like I've just seen you on Chicago. You've been all over the news like
Mhm.
talking 50 flowers, talking Mother's Day, talking women in flowers like uh, do you ever feel like, I can't do this. Like ha it's a lot of, pressure, I feel like, in all those situations that you put yourself into.
Yeah. And do I ever feel that way? If I'm going to be really real, yeah, absolutely. But that's also, and I'm going to say this, that's my itty bitty shitty committee. Like it can just go away. One of my favorite realizations is that we do have this side of our personality, which is called fear, and it holds us back.
Yeah.
And when you lean into that fear and you listen to that fear, it can paralyze you from becoming who you're meant to be.
Yeah. Yeah. The great words of advice here. We're really digging deep, like early on too.
Oh, well, you're talking with me.
Yeah,
I read it
no.
on, I read it right here, you know?
Well, and that's what I love about you because when I first met you, I felt like here is a woman in another part of the industry. I really had no idea who the founder of 50 Flowers was. I really thought it was like it's like a Victoria's Secret, you know. You always think it's like the secret is it's a guy. It's a guy behind the scenes. So it was so refreshing to see another woman that was out there at the helm of this company. But you've really been a really fantastic mentor to me, and I bet a lot of people throughout the last decade. And I appreciate that so much. It's like I feel like you've been really leading a strong charge and being very supportive of other women in the industry. And like I said, you show up. And so like I think that's one of the most important things is just to be there for other people who can, hey, how did you handle this? Or what did you do? Or what kind of advice can I maybe take from this so that I can see the road down the way, you know? Oh, yeah.
Well, Kareen, that's very flattering coming from a fellow entrepreneur, a female entrepreneur.
Yeah,
And
I mean it.
I'm not crying right now because I don't know why, and it's tears of joy because you reflect back on your life. And yeah, of course, business is business, and making the money and gaining and being debt free, and we all have our goals.
Right.
And I realized that when I went through a really important time of my life, a really important disappointment in my life. And I realized that I'm not motivated by all the material and all the good and yeah, of course I enjoy, not having to write a mortgage check. There's nothing more than that. But on the flip side, what I really want to leave when I pass on is a legacy. And a legacy of we're all humans and we're all wanting the exact same thing, which is to feel respected and that we're making a difference.
Yeah.
And, that's why for me, I don't care who you are. You can pick up the phone, you can chat with me. I'm going to get to you and give you a word of encouragement because you never know what's behind that smile.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
never know. And I've lost one too many friends to, suicide.
Oh,
And one
really?
of those being a 14-year-old little girl, my daughter's best friend.
Oh,
And that
God.
really shifted my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you can't show up for people, then you got to reevaluate your life because that's what's the most important thing. And you
Yeah.
can, you can hustle as hard as you want, but if you have no one to share it with at the end of that journey, it's like
Yeah.
not what's for not. So
Yeah.
I feel like we talk about all those things and more in Woman with Flowers.
Oh,
So,
we do. We do. In fact, we got really serious really quick. And I'm like, oops, should I even have said that? But
but it's life,
that's
right?
what we do in women too. And that's life.
Yeah. So we just did this Let Them book by Mel Robbins, this last one. And when I first read the first few chapters of that book, it really like resonated with me a lot. And I think a lot of the women on that call did. But you always pick a really good meaty book for you to dig in and get real with yourself too. Like let's have some authenticity here, right? So
Oh, yeah. Oh,
uh,
yeah.
what's next on the book for those that
You
are
know, it's one of the most, Let Them was life-changing. However, Mel Robbins has been doing this for years. And this next one is every every person needs to read it. It's called Letting Go or Let Go by Terry Cole.
okay?
And it talks about high functioning, codependent people.
Okay.
And game changer for me, life changer,
Hmm.
deep seated.
Yeah.
And if you're not codependent, it'll still help you process those of us who are
Okay.
and high functioning codependent.
Well, I mean, I feel like if you're running a business at this scale, you really are high functioning, whether you can, you know,
Yeah,
how what's working out for you or not. And even if you're just a one man show, I feel like there's a lot of a lot that goes into it. You know, you've been
absolutely.
you're very lonely and isolating too. So that's another reason for people to want to like join this group because uh, It's a great way to let things off your chest and make a
It
friend.
sure is. And we all understand. I think that's where it is. It's hashtag no judgment. I mean, you show up and it's no one, nothing, never. You
Yeah.
know, what's said in book club stays in book club.
What has been the most surprising aspect of it for you in starting a group like this?
You know, and the honesty, I love to talk about things in threes. And the honesty, the hunger, and the hurt.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, people are open and we crave meeting us at our mark. And it's just the hunger to learn, to be, to experience together, and the true heart that's brought in.
Yeah. Well, there's some really lovely people, and like Tracy, she's one
Oh
of
yeah,
them from House of Flora. I just love her,
she's just adorable.
and it's really wonderful when you get to see these people in other places because we tend to show up and go to all the people. So these people who are showing up here also show up all the time. And in fact, you're hosting the very first ever Women in Flowers women's conference happening in Chicago. Would you
Yes.
share more about that?
Oh yes, I would love to. And we're almost sold out, which is just incredible. Like we can't have any more.
Yeah.
And it is at the Katie Kennicott Center in Chicago. We thought was the most appropriate place and very generous of the Kennicott company to allow us to host it there. And they're actually sponsoring in many different ways, meals and transportation. Lisa has been in very important in putting everything together. And we're just going to be Monday noon to Tuesday noon. And we have a full set of speakers coming in, not people in the flower industry. They're people from my entrepreneur world. And we have, a former mayor of Oakland, Florida, a pro athlete, attorney, an entrepreneur. We have, my media coach. Her name is Carolyn Holly, and she's been, uh, an anchor for our TV station here and runs an international coaching session. I mean, we have so many incredible speakers. We're going to be doing some yoga with our
Yeah.
very own Amy from Natu Flora. And we also have some groove movement, which is it's a unique experience that I was able to experience when I was at a wellness spa this past summer. So we've got a lot going on. We're going to have dinner at Jean and Georgette's, which is the oldest steakhouse, and the owners are going to speak to us, and we're going to have a chef's dinner there. It's a curated experience for entrepreneurs. It's completely outside of the flower industry. We're not going to talk about what varieties, we're not going to show off any flowers. We're actually going to journal about who you want to become and how you to get there.
Yeah. No, it sounds like a really great um exercise and just a
Mhm.
vision. Like what's the future look like? What does success for you look like after this event, like post event? What would make it a successful event?
Jennifer and I have been talking about that a lot.
Mm.
And, what we really want is that, and success would be that every woman who leaves this space, that they'll have one nugget that'll help her grow into her best self and believe that she has the power from within to make it happen and a community to hold her accountable.
That, yeah, that's a big word. The accountability factor,
Mhm.
right? Who's going to make sure that you're doing all these things that
Yeah,
you set out to do? Well,
yeah,
yeah. How do
yeah.
you stay inspired or energized as a CEO?
Haha, haha. I surround myself with a lot of smarter people,
Yeah.
and I am constantly, I just have this thirst for learning, and I'm curious.
Mm,
How do I stay energized? And as a CEO, I have a lot of daily grounding routines. And, I've just learned to give myself also the grace and the space to break those rules when it's necessary, but not all the time because I can convince myself to not go work out in the morning. But working out is an important part of it.
Yeah, I think that consistency. I also feel like you lean more than anybody I know into technology or AI.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Even
yeah.
when we met 10 years ago, you were like, "Look at my grocery list on her iPhone." And I was like, "I don't even know what you're talking about here." Like, that is so, like, 5 years ago now, like, who's not doing that? But, like, you were really innovative and always trying something new. So, like, where do you learn about all this stuff? And where do you find it? Like, because 'cause
You
you're
know,
always
it's really
something.
yeah, it's curious because a friend of mine from many years ago, she runs, the ESL for the state of Topeka right I mean, state of Kansas right now. And, she leaned in and she was like, "Of course you're on AI."
Yeah.
I remember when no one knew what the internet was and you were all over you were selling flowers on the internet and we didn't even know what it was about. And, it made me sit and think about it. And it goes to that I'm a very curious person. And could it be blamed on FOMO? I don't really think that's where it comes from. I think it comes from, just wanting to be my best self and being aware,
Is
which
there Oh,
no, go ahead.
you please. Well, I'll have another question. So on these speaking engagements, because you've traveled all over the world, like I feel like I just saw you in South America, not all that long ago. But and then I saw you in Chicago. Is there a certain subject matter that you like to speak on best?
Yeah, I really and it's interesting because I'm working to narrow that down. And,
Just
one thing for sure is impact. If whatever I speak about, if I can have an impact on somebody's life, that's what's most important. And what I love to talk about, it's intimidating to talk about AI. As much as I know and I do about AI and I have it involved and intertwined in everything, it's changing so fast. In fact, next week I'm at Flori Expo and I pitched a panel and Ryan and Jennifer are talking on very specific platforms where I'm talking about the general AI. I haven't even started writing my speech yet because what's happened in the past 2 weeks, what's happened already today is change what I would have written earlier today. So, I love to speak about AI. I love to speak about entrepreneurship. I love to tell my story because it can have an impact and it can help you. And we're in this all together. Judge me because I'm not up to date on what happened this morning on my speech. I'm not going to let that stop me from speaking.
Yeah. And ChatGPT can write it for you in like 3 seconds, so you know.
It can, but you know what, boy, can it go crazy too? You
I know
know?
you gotta really wrangle that in. So what helps you stay grounded? Because I know you're a mother of 2 daughters, and, I'm sure that that is really busy. I mean, I have 3 myself, so I know how that keeps me busy, but how do you stay balanced with it all? And
Yeah, well, it's a really good question. How do you say? One shift I've made is I have a calendar commitment. And if it's not scheduled, it doesn't happen. And I've also, you can get into that reactive mode to where you just let everything pop in and you're like, oh, this is a problem I have to solve right now. But reality is take a step back. And you can't be everything for everybody, but it is committing to a calendar. And, my daughters are somewhat grown now, but if they call, I step out and I answer it always,
yeah, I think that's important. I love
you
that.
know,
And
always
I
for my
agree
kids.
on the calendar, but wholeheartedly. I'm just like, if it's not on there, I gotta focus. And so it's
Yeah. Do you put yoga on your calendar?
absolutely. I put lunch on there too. I have to make time, otherwise I won't eat.
You won't eat. And you have
Yeah.
to respect it, and everybody else has to respect it,
Yeah.
you know?
But so that's just
Yeah.
so what advice would you give to other aspiring entrepreneurs?
Oh, this is one of my favorites because I go back to my 21-year-old self and I go, okay, what would I ask? What would I tell myself then? Number one, strength is in asking for help and admitting that you don't have it solved. You know, number two is dream bigger than it feels safe to dream because, you know, it can happen. It will happen. Number three, stop asking for permission and just start doing it. You know, it's all about the narrative that we tell ourselves. And, you know, instead of what if it doesn't work? What if we said, what if I succeed? Then what am I gonna do?
I love that. That's great advice. Thank you.
Mhm.
I like the not asking for permission. Just ask for forgiveness. It's much
Yeah.
better. No.
Oh, I just recently purchased a place in Florida and mhm,
What?
and
Where
moved
at?
in- yeah, Florida.
No,
Yeah.
but Florida's big. Where are you at?
Oh, I'm in Fort Lauderdale. I
Oh,
have,
that's
yeah, Fort Lauderdale down on near in inland a bit,
okay.
1.4 miles from the beach. I know that because I walked 1 to 1. And, you know, when I was moving in, I can't remember who it was that asked me. It might have even been the person who's moving in. It was like, oh, do you need my certificate of insurance? Do you need this? Do you need that? And I'm like, why? And they're like, well, you're supposed to ask your condo association. I was like, well, shoot. I forgot all about that. It's been 20 years since I had a place in Florida, 25 years. So, you know what? I just did it and then asked for permission. So, yeah, stop asking for permission.
I
And
agree.
I hope my girls are not listening.
Except for you. Yeah,
Yeah.
no. So what's next for you on the business front?
Well, the immediate future is hosting Women in Flower Summit, which is, you know, there's a lot of work that goes into it. And then starting June 1st, I'm on a sabbatical where
Wow,
my executive team is going to shine and take the path of running this company so I can move into a visionary role.
that's amazing.
And, you know, during that time, I am working on two books, one that is more business focused and one that is flower industry focused, The Magic of Flowers and Random Acts of Business Magic. And I'll be launching a podcast.
It. That's I'm so excited to hear and to read, to follow it up. You're gonna have to have that as one of the book clubs, obviously.
Oh, oh, yeah, that's intimidating.
Yeah,
And, you know, I'm gonna dream bigger than what I thought, you know, and, you know, ask for the help too, because it's a book. It's a
yeah,
book. I'm
yeah.
halfway through both of them, so it's good. It's a lot. Writing a book is a lot.
Did you wrote one, I think you said back when you were on the Peace Corps or like
A guide. Yeah.
a guide. Yeah, so
Yeah.
this is much different than that. Like it's a full on
Yeah,
how
this is full on. I have a publisher committed
oh,
and working with a team and you know, it's very different. This is, you know, I've turned down some big names and said no thank you because I want to make it authentically mine and not a label.
that's awesome. I love
You
it.
know, and I do need to say, not to mention, you know, the on what's next for me also during the sabbatical is, you know, my youngest is learning to drive. And I'm helping my oldest move off campus into a house. So it's that whole balance of everything as well.
Like, yeah. And
If
those
you
things you need to be present for. So it's so amazing you have a great team that really is allowing for you to
Mhm.
make the time to go do the things that really set your soul on fire, right? So it's like you need to be
Yeah,
there, be that.
absolutely. Be present.
That's awesome.
Absolutely.
I
Yeah.
love that. So we have a section of our master classes, our DTLS University Live, where it's a rapid fire
Sure.
questions. So are you ready?
Yeah, well, yeah, yeah, go for it.
Okay. What is your favorite word in another language?
Oh, Chuchaki. Absolutely. In fact, I named my dog Chuchaki, and it means hangover in Quechua, which is the local Ecuadorian words. And there was nothing more delightful than to hear the Southern Baptist grandmother, who was my neighbor, be like, Chuchaki, come back here. It was so fun.
I love
Chuchaki.
that.
Mhm.
My husband's really good at naming animals too. I'm gonna tell him that one.
Yeah.
What is your drink of choice if someone were to order you a drink?
Yeah, these days it's definitely a mocktail, and it would be a jalapeno, margarita, spicy margarita.
Lovely. I love that. What is your favorite flower?
Oh, a tulip. And I can tell you why. They continue to grow. They stand out. They're bold. They will, they just, and they shine and they just continue to give
What color?
any color in any shape. I have to say, I really love I like the unique ones, the fringe, the double, the parrots, just the weird ones. The more weird, the better.
Love that. What's one item you cannot leave home without?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I think it would be, I don't want to say my computer because I never leave without my computer. And I definitely couldn't leave without the keys to start my car. That's very practical. I feel as though I need to think of something else. I think joy, my joy.
Good answer. I like that. You're
Yeah,
the first person that hasn't said some like a material item. So I like that. That was a good answer. Summer, winter, spring, or fall? What's your favorite time of year?
all of them. Because I love change so much that, by the time you start with summer, you're just loving the heat and you're loving, all the changes that introduce. And then you get to a point where you're like, okay, I'm ready for a change. And then fall comes and the world changes. It's beautiful at first. All the leaves fall off, and then you get kind of depressed until winter comes. And then you see all these beautiful sprinkles coming from the sky. And that just turns everything into light and fluffy and cold. And you have to be inside and you're by a fireplace and you're snuggled up with your loved ones and your family and your kids. And then all of a sudden you get really tired of being cold and spring comes. And then it's the beautiful blooms. It's the beautiful, just the other day I was walking by I live in Boise and I'm walking downtown looking at this cherry blossom tree. And it's just one of the most beautiful things, eye candy I've ever seen. And it reminds you that the world's alive again. And then that all kind of dies off and it starts to be like cold, but yet not cold. And then summer comes around and we're back in the reset of it all. So I don't have a favorite. I like the change.
Yeah, I like it. That's good. Morning or evening? Are you early to rise or
Ooh,
late out?
well,
Do you
in the
even
States,
sleep? Do you even sleep, Lisa?
I am very careful of my sleep because that's part of being my best self. And I get about, on a daily basis, I get about 7.5 hours. And that might include my power naps because that is one of my superpowers. And I would say one of my favorite times of the day, this chapter is morning. I love my mornings and I love my ritual in my mornings. I love my exercise in the morning. I love my coffee in the morning. Just it's a beautiful time to be.
Yeah, I love rituals too. What's a hobby that you've always wanted to try but haven't?
Oh, I don't know if this necessarily is going to answer your question, but one of my hobbies is yoga. And this is getting vulnerable and it's going to get accountability. And Kareen, you get to hold me to this, okay?
Okay.
I really want to do inversions.
Oh, like
And I'm
handstand.
scared shitless.
You just need a wall.
I
Just
want to
stop.
do it without a
Start at
wall.
the wall. No.
You know me, take it to an extreme, but yeah.
Start at the wall.
Yes.
There.
Yes. Yes.
Um, are you more of a thinker or a doer?
I think, no, I think a lot. Okay. And I do a lot. And this year, one of my motto is build FF. And the D of build is don't do it, hire to do it.
Okay.
So I truly believe I am a thinker.
Mm,
However, to build the business that I've built, I've had to do it.
mhm.
And I'm stopping that this year.
Yeah, I'm holding you to that too. So we've got handstands inversions and
Well, and
gonna
here's
be
another thing. I've finally owned it. I I'm a no tools girl. I want to be that handy person to do it all, but I'm not.
really okay. Power
Mm.
tools, we're adding that to the list too. We're
Oh
gonna
no,
do that.
I used to have them all. In fact, three of them of some things. It just is sometimes there's only so many hours in a day.
Yeah.
And I can be so OCD, it might just be better to let somebody else hang up those pictures.
Yeah, I get it too. I make 50 different holes in the wall.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, so you've been just about everywhere in the world, I feel like. I feel like I see you traveling all the time, but what is a place you would most like to travel that you haven't yet?
Thailand.
Hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
What is for dinner tonight?
Tonight, having dinner with my sister,
Okay.
and we're gonna have just steamed vegetables and chicken.
A fun fact here, Lisa's sister is lovely, and one SAF, they went to the dinner in one outfit, and then we all went to the bathroom together. And when they came out of the bathroom, they had switched dresses. They
Yep.
look completely different people.
Yep, we did. And it confused a lot of people. That was so much fun. I don't know what I'm gonna do this SAF, but maybe we all need to come up with something fun to do.
Hey, I'm down. I'm down for that.
Yeah.
What is your go-to karaoke song?
Oh, well, I love one in Spanish. It's called Tobacco and Chanel. I just started doing cryo, and have you ever done it?
No.
Okay, so the beginning cryo is negative 171 for 3 minutes. Yeah.
No.
And they put on a song and you dance to it, which, they asked me what song, and it would be that. I would have to say it really depends on the mood I'm in to give you my karaoke song. I Got Friends in Low Places. There's nothing like that song. And that's
Awesome.
the Texan in me coming out. Tobacco and Chanel is the Ecuadorian in me coming out. And then the woman in me coming out might be Higher Love, or would it be, I don't know. I'd have to really sit. I'm not good with words of names of songs. I have more melodies playing in my head and I can't even think of the names of them.
Well, we're gonna splice this all together. We're gonna make it. We'll make it sound really fun.
Okay, well, let me think of what would be we okay.
Well, there's more questions. What is your hidden talent?
Oh, my hidden talent? It's a really good question. I can break your eardrums when I sing.
Oh, no. Ah.
I know exactly. Yeah, yeah.
And what is your favorite dance move? And can you show it to us?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Favorite
Okay.
dance move. Gosh, I love the salsa.
Okay.
Um, and I'm really good at salsing. I just don't know if it's gonna look good like this. And it's a good thing I'm dressed because I thought about not wearing something, but like dun 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 dun. It's moving the hips, baby. And it's like knowing that like,
Yeah, very good, Lisa. I like your moves.
oh, my grandmother was born in Cuba. I have Cuban in me.
That's amazing. Well, you're a very good dancer. You must.
Thank you.
All right. And
Yours. I'm curious.
I like the
Mhm.
or
Yeah.
like your like the fishing. I like
Yeah,
you
the
know.
fishing.
It depends if I have a partner or not. If I'm dancing by myself, it's just
That's a really it's so true too. Yeah.
I think, yeah, no, we won't go there.
You
Um,
sure?
I know. Okay, and last question. What would be your superpower if you had one?
Oh, yeah, I tend to vacillate on that answer because it would be really nice to know what you're thinking before I answer. So like to be able to read your mind,
Yeah.
but then I don't know if I would show up authentically.
Mm,
So I think my superpower would be is to always think that you have the best intentions with your actions.
yeah, that's good.
I mean, yeah, would I love to fly? Absolutely. You know, would I love actually, this is my answer.
Okay.
Okay. When I was a little girl, I watched this show called The Girl and the Golden Watch. And it was about this guy who had this golden watch that it would freeze time, and then you could run around and then unfreeze the time. So it was just so much fun to watch, and it captivated me that I've always thought about what if I could just freeze time right now and run over and fix that mistake in our P&L when we're in the middle of a meeting, and then run back and the person be like, "Oh, no, it's fixed." You know, or what if I could, just freeze time. I think that would be fun, and then unfreeze it.
That's amazing. I love it. Well, we are almost out of time here, speaking of time. But how can people reach you if they wanted to ask any questions or get involved with the Women in Flowers? How can you be reached?
Yeah, definitely. You know, to get involved with Women in Flowers, it's hello@womeninflowers.com. And to reach me on LinkedIn, Liza Roeser.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Lisa. I appreciate you spending
Yeah.
this time with us. And it's always love to see you. I'm going to give you a big hug. I think the next place I'll see you, I'm not going to Flurry Expo this year, but where am I going to see you next after that?
I'm really not sure. You never
SAS,
know.
probably. Mm.
SAF for sure.
Are you
And
going to AIFD? No? AIFD?
nope. Remember, I'm going on sabbatical.
Oh,
Not even. I
we're lucky if we ever see you again, Lisa. No, you
No, you
gotta
will. You'll
come
see me. You'll see me for sure.
up
But in August at SAF for sure, you'll see me there.
in Phoenix. Wonderful.
Oh,
Well,
yes, in Phoenix.
I love you so much. Thank you for doing
Thank
this
you.
and for
Yeah.
being a great person in the industry. If anybody wants to have a mentor or someone, Lisa, not that you want to do less, but I'm
Yeah.
sitting.
More for the industry is what it's really all about right now. And you know, Corrine, I cannot leave without saying thank you for being just so involved and there and creating just a technologically future industry for us, because what you're building, our industry needs. And
Yeah. That
you're there, you're showing up, and I feel so proud of you and love and adore you.
Well, you know that we think alike because look, we almost wore the same exact shirt.
Yeah,
So, this
I
one's not.
know, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
But thank you guys for tuning in, and we will see you next month. So I appreciate it,
Yeah.
Lisa.
Okay, bye-bye, everyone.